Hey everyone, Christian and I welcome you back to another episode of Mondays with Mindy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show.
Today's episode features a conversation with one of my all-time favorite interior designers, author, cook, and business owner, Nathan Turner. A fourth-generation Californian, Nathan Turner grew up in San Francisco Bay, well, that area, not in the Bay, surrounded by a large extended family. Deeply rooted in California heritage, he spent many weekends at the family ranch in Northern California, where they would ride horses, raise cattle, and cook scrumptious meals. Nathan attended St. Mary's College of California, where he graduated with a degree in business. He then lived abroad in France and Italy, where he studied the area's language, art history, and honed his culinary skills.
Nice.
Upon moving to Los Angeles, Nathan successfully merged his greatest passions, design, travel, and food, into his shop in Los Angeles, which is where I first met him, but he won't remember. Amazing store. Nathan's store had become an expression of his years traveling, a faithful source for the country's leading interior designers, as well as some of the most stylish individuals from coast to coast. Well, me included, of course. Nathan's parties, products, and designs have been featured in major national and regional publications, including Architectural Digest, Domino, Vogue, Elle Decor, House Beautiful, Food and Wine, C Magazine, the New York Times, and the LA Times. Just a few.
Just a few.
His cookbook, I Love California, which I recently posted on my Instagram stories, and yes, there it is. It's
amazing.
Such an incredible book. Best Guide to Living, Eating, and Entertaining the West Coast Way. Nathan is also special projects editor at Architectural Digest and contributing editor at C Magazine. He lives in his homes in Los Angeles and Ojai with his partner Eric, who I adore, and their Fab Labs.
Amazing. I'm ready to meet him. Shall we bring him in?
Yes, I love him so.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are excited to introduce to you and have a conversation with Nathan Turner. Hello, sir.
Hi, guys.
Welcome.
It's a very exciting thing for me to just see your face because
ditto.
I mean, I'll take what I can get. It's not live in person,
Ditto.
but I'll take what I can get right now. Okay.
Thank you. Yes, same. Okay, so taking out my trusty Johnny Adler canister and doing a deep dive. Here are your 5 questions.
Secrets.
Yeah, five get to knowing questions,
Okay.
Or even just to start gabbing, which you and I don't ever have a problem doing.
No.
Okay, Nathan, do you have a hidden talent?
Hidden talent. I don't know if I'm not. I shouldn't call it a talent because I don't think I'm very good, but I have a hidden I wish I had this talent, is I'd love to be a country western singer. And I'm not joking.
Okay.
I love this. I love this so completely.
I'm not joking. I think I can sing in my truck when I'm driving, but I'm fine, but I'm not I'm not heading to Nashville anytime soon, but I would love to be really.
Oh my God, that is
fine-tuning.
That is delicious. Yeah. That is delicious. What do you splurge on?
Travel. I think, and I think it's that is the area where I'm really everybody is funny with money and they want to spend it in different ways and feel comfortable. I'm fine. I want the best seat on the airplane. I want the hotel. I love a bougie hotel,
Very nice.
Yeah. Do you, when you have an out of town client and you have to go, do you tack on an extra trip if you have time to somewhere else?
I always say this is going to be the time, always.
Yeah.
I work a lot in Asia,
right?
Which is exciting and I love it. And I'm always look, I'm already all the way over there. I've flown on Singapore Airlines in suite class for my clients, and
nice.
So I'm there. Why not go? And a little bit, but it's more often than not, I'm racing to get back and on to something else. I try.
Right. Have you ever been to Sri Lanka?
No. I have
Okay, I'm pulling this out of my butt because I mean it's one of those places where until you go somewhere else, like you don't make a direct flight to Sri Lanka. I don't think you do.
Right.
But like
It's
while
really
you're
hard.
there, yeah. All right, it's one of those places that I'm dying to go to, but
It would
not
be a good one from like Singapore. Like, you know
right.
what I
Yeah.
mean? There's so many
That's what I was
places that are
thinking.
great from there.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so funny. Okay, what's your favorite place to travel to and why?
That's funny. You know what? It's always like the place I haven't been. You know what I mean? It's
Yes, I
that
do.
rush of like landing down somewhere and having that excitement of like, I don't know where, I don't know anything about where I'm about to land. And I
Yeah.
love that. And I've been like that since I was a little kid. I love an adventure.
Same.
I like that. That's a good
Same.
answer.
Okay. What is your best habit and what is your worst habit?
My worst habit, I'm going to start there, is this is really not normal for somebody in my profession. I'm a
Okay.
real slob. Like I
Are
am
you
a
really?
real, and people are like, no, you're not. And Eric, my boyfriend, everybody will be in the background being like, yes. Eric will do this imitation of me. Like he's like, here you are. You walk in the house, and it's like you start disrobing immediately. And it's like there's a minute and like not a millisecond in your mind where you like look at the jacket and he's like, I'd like to think you're thinking, should I hang it up? But then you go and discard. And it's, when we met, he was like, what grown man, let alone someone in our industry with your taste level and everything, has like cereal bowls next to your bed. I'm like a frat boy.
Okay. That's like a hidden.
Yeah, I would have
all right.
It's hidden,
never
and
guessed that.
it's a really bad, I'm not
Well, it isn't because
dirty,
eventually
I'm
you clean
messy.
up.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's why I had a housekeeper, well, still, Amanda, my housekeeper, years ago, pre-Eric, called me panicked and thought my house had been ransacked, like had been broken into. It was that messy. True story.
Oh my God, that's classic.
And
That's
meanwhile,
amazing.
I can like organize someone's life. Like you can't be like
I've
create
seen it.
this environment, and like this is how, and literally have binders for my clients where there are photos of the top of each counter space, and like so their staff or whomever can like keep it exactly the way I've styled it and left it. And then I'm like,
Goes to show.
yeah.
I like.
I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Okay, so worst, fine. But what's your best habit?
My best habit is, I would say, I'm pretty like reliable, which isn't a habit, but it's like, but it makes the things that I like commit to stick, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Like, you know what I
Well,
mean?
it
Like,
does. And it's also something in your industry that when people get some sense of notoriety or success, they can start to be a little flaky. No?
yeah, it's my worst. And like I was probably not probably when I was younger, but I'm really like, I like steady,
Yeah. Yeah.
I get that. I like
All
that.
right. Last question. Who's the most fascinating person you've met?
Oh gosh. The most fascinating. I feel like I feel honestly, do you know the artist? Well, no, you do. Cy Twombly. I'm friends with his son, and I remember having like in Rome
Huh.
having like a lunches in Italy, and like there are tables of all these really, really fascinating people from the art world, and it's funny because you'd think it'd be like Cy Twombly would be like people I've ever met, was his wife, my friend Alessandra's mother. It was Tatiana Franchetti, and she was one of these women an aristocratic family. Very early age, obviously she had the ability and the means to travel, but like a woman from her generation, the experiences she had and the things she would talk about and be able to teach you was like, I remember the last time I ever saw her, sadly she's dead now, she gave me clippings from a rose bush from her garden, and they were, from a rose from the original cutting that she had taken from like Nepal and brought back in her suitcase when she was like 28 years old or something, and then taught me how to like propagate it when I get back home. And she was just like, her stories and her life and her experiences and her home and her bedroom was filled with print. She was just fascinating. So it's like, it's for me, it's never like kind of the obvious of like, trust me, I'd love to meet Beyonce and I'm sure she'd be fascinating. But I love old people. I do, like, that have been around, and I love like really cultured people that like her that have just seen and experienced so much. It's like I hear stories from someone like that I'm never going to hear from anyone ever.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Well, you said it too, especially from that time era or that time period when they were where they were, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that's all over. The funny thing is the first person that actually popped into my head when you said it was my great grandmother, and then that made me think of Tatiana. And my great grandmother lived to be 103, and she was born in San Francisco in 1909. And
amazing.
Her stories just like blew my mind to where she was hilarious. She was interesting. She had lived this really interesting life, and she would like. I remember, whatever Access Hollywood would come on the television and be like, "Oh, Lindsay Lohan was out without panties again," and my mother's like, "Oh God, it's just horrible, these girls these days." And my great grandmother would like roll her eyes and be like, "Oh please." She's like, "It's all the same thing. It's been going on for ages." She's like, "It's just different outfits." She's like, "If you had been around San Francisco in the 20s and 30s, you would have seen a lot worse." And the stories are and like great. So I think probably because I love history and travel, and it just like when you talk to people from a different time, it's just incredibly interesting.
Yeah. Now, your great grandmother, was she the one that purchased the ranch? Like, who started your family ranch up in Northern California?
That is on the other side of the family.
Okay.
The scary Germans, as I fondly refer to them. I shouldn't say scary. That's mean, but strict. My mother's maiden name's Trummenhauser. It's like they're strict Germans. So it's that side of the family. 5 generations ago, came from.
5 generations ago. Okay, even further back.
Came from Germany and England, the family, and through British Columbia, and then kind of started doing business up there. And they're like, let's go south, and then landed in Northern California. Right. And started our ranch, and it's a cool. For me. I love the connection is really wonderful. To be connected. At home in Ojai, I have an entire wall of just all these amazing old. Some of them are in the end papers of my book, but some old pictures of like great grandparents and I think there's something very comforting about they're with me. And even though Absolutely. I didn't know half of them, I'm connected to them. And it's why I feel so connected to our home state. Like I just, the California experience to me is so much a part of my childhood, but also my mother's childhood and my grandfather's childhood. And it just is, I feel like it's part of what connects me to my own family. So it makes me feel comforted.
Same. I think it's one of the first conversations we had when I told you that on my dad's side, my grandparents are Angelenos, which was very rare, you know, to find families like that who've been here. that long. So I have, Christian and I have this question that we ask a lot of different kinds of creatives. Does where you grew up, did that help create your aesthetic? And you basically answered that question. Like
Yeah.
it was born in you, right?
It's like ingrained. I don't think I think it really dictates my creativity and obviously influences it, but really like drives me. And I think, and I say this a lot when I'll speak at like design schools or whatever to design events, and people that are, especially students that are coming up, stay open, keep your eyes open, because as a creative, it's every experience is going to contribute to your, it's just like foundations, boom, 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 boom. And I think of like when I was, my last year of college, I came down, which is how I ended up in Southern California. I was a pool boy at the Four Seasons Hotel right over here in Doheny. And it was just a fun job. Like, I'm like, this will be fun, and I'll be in LA for the summer. And I ended up staying longer. And the things I saw in the mid-90s.
I can only imagine.
In the mid-90s at the pool at Beverly Hills, Four Seasons. But, when I look back, yeah, that was like a quote fun summer job. But I also learned so much from there. Like I loved that I like love to cook and entertain. But if you're open and you're taking everything in, even if it is like a dumb summer job, you're still learning and taking lessons in it. It was the first time I really started to like pay attention to, like, I loved the Four Seasons rules on quality. You know what I mean? And it's like, when I was at the pool, this was, late 90s. So at the pool, then they didn't really have a restaurant up there. So everything was brought up from downstairs. And everyone, of course, why wouldn't they, wanted French fries at the pool? And they wouldn't serve them there because by the time they got up from the kitchen, they'd be cold, and they were not going to serve. And I remember like at the time rolling my eyes, and it was like an annoying thing to like have to explain to people. But I also thought, wait, if you can't do it right, you shouldn't do it. And it's just weird little lessons like that are just always like being infused, to someone who is a creative. So it's really important to stay aware and open and be open to anything.
Yes. Well, and I love how, as much as your passion is to travel and how much you love it and enjoy it, also that feeling of like loving to come home.
Oh my God, it's the best. I always think that's the best thing about LA. It's
coming
like,
back
LA
to
is
it.
the most perfect place to come home to. It just really is. Like, it's such a like soft landing. There's nothing harsh about it. Even LAX is by the water, and you're waiting for your taxi or whatever, and it's like cool sea air, and it's a very great place to come home to.
Agreed. So I know how hard you work. Do you work every day? And when I say that, I'm trying to get to this kind of question, another one we ask, which is about someone's creative process. I mean, are you always designing or curating or in a creative act every day, or no?
No.
I know you're in nature a lot and you cook a lot, but
I am. That's where I kind of plug back in. Is I hike, and I grew up in the outdoors my entire life. Overnights in the Sierra and all of that stuff, and so that's where I kind of, Mindy, being doing what you do, it's like you can't do that all the time. You've got to like recharge, otherwise you just don't have anything left. So that's my like plug back in. But I will say this, I am kind of always looking though. I am always, it's like what I said before, it's like my eyes are always open, like I'm like, oh, where's my phone? I like that like detail on that door. And it may sit in my phone, and like 3 years later, I'm like at the airport waiting, and I'm like, ooh, that would be really cool on this thing. You know what I mean? So there's just always taking in hopefully inspiration, and inspiration's everywhere. And I always laugh when, like, you know, people are like, oh, you know, Paris and London. It's like, of course, duh, those are inspiring places. But like, I'm super inspired everywhere. Like,
Same.
there's always something if you're paying attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
know?
same. What are you currently obsessed with right now? Like, I know you go through, like we all do, this kind of waves of, what are you currently like obsessed about? And it doesn't have to be design. It can be a food item. It can be anything, actually.
Yeah.
What am I currently? God, I think probably like everyone, I'm kind of just obsessed with my own home. You know, it's like I have like
Spent
all of
this
us
much
have
time.
not been able. Oh,
I was
it's
telling
nuts.
Christian, usually to try and get you would be virtually impossible because you travel like 3 weeks out of the month or something.
Constantly. And we, as you know, redid a place in Ojai, and I think we completely finished with the interior January of last year. I mean, like, talk about perfect timing. And I
Oh
mean,
my
like,
God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't mean like decorating. I just mean like we gutted a house and like added onto it, and so where we could move in. So, I mean, it's like a decorator's dream. I've had like kind of a year at home and just like fooling around in our own space, and we're working on the garden now, and so it is kind of an obsession then, I think, of just like, you know, I have a tomorrow truck coming from down here with like some other stuff to try, and like I'm always like, let's try this and let's try that. And so that's actually been a real like plus side of this.
Yeah, I'll say. What have you and Eric been binging on? Anything of note that you want to share?
I think probably all the usuals, you know, the Bridgerton I was not going to do, and then I just because it looked like
I know
fromage, and I just couldn't. And then of course I like watched one, and then we watched all of them, which is hilarious.
No, but one of the things, like for me, that caught me off guard, I'll put it that way. Like of course, everyone talks about all of them, but I have to say, like the game changer for me, there were a couple, and one of them was Ted Lasso, where no one in my purview had watched it, and I thought, oh my God, how do you not like Jason? You know, it's like, okay. Yeah. I have been raving about this show. It's the most feel good, funny, like I'm obsessed. Good. It's one of those, like, I think you guys need to watch it. I'm obsessed. It wasn't like in everybody's conversation.
Yeah. Right.
Which so it was like, one of those.
There's just so much out there. Like everything can't be in everyone's conversation. You know what I've done, which was like almost like comfort food for me? Yes. Like I went back and had watched so many like 80s, early 90s movies. Like, you know, everything from like Working Girl to what was the like, I mean, and then even kind of like bad 90s movies. Like, remember Indecent Proposal with Demi Moore and Robert Redford, and because you know how it's like, since you watch this, and I've been like really loving this like 80s 90s moment in film. That
hey, listen, it was good to me. Yes,
it was good time. I mean, the best. You know,
that's really that's fantastic.
And then I deep dove into some early Wonder Woman, not the movie.
Linda Carter.
Show. Linda Carter was like, I mean, the ultimate like bombshell.
Honestly,
like,
that body in that costume, there is nothing. I bring anybody else against that, she'll win hands down.
And she's got to be like 6 feet tall. Like she's just like,
and still like gorgeous,
a marble statue. Yeah, like so that, you know, that to me is what's amazing about what all that crazy content that's out there, is that you can just kind of find anything.
Yes. Yeah. So about this book of yours that is so ridiculous, Christian, you want to hold it up again? It's so amazing.
Oh yeah. Speaking of California.
And loving it. So how's it been to try and get this out there in this time? It's so Have you had to do this kind of
Well, no,
unusual?
the book has been out, so
Right.
I didn't have to do it. I already did I had such a great release with it, and Ralph Lauren, I partnered with them, and this was pre.
Yes, I
Um,
remember. They had parties, right?
yeah, we did all of it. So I feel like, you know, I will still do some things, and it's like, what we're doing now, or the Today Show is great because you don't have to go to New York anymore. Not that I don't want to go to New York, but like
Right.
it's always a big deal to do that for what I do. I'm like, why can't I just, it's so easy if you were going just to like talk about a topic, but I'm going with like, I need a chest of drawers, a mirror, a table, and 2 lampshades. And it's like, and trying to, the whole coordination of a segment for me
Oh
is
my God.
real. So it's like
So
kind of
much more
amazing.
than what should be for a 3-minute thing.
Yeah, I was talking
Yeah.
to the producer I worked there with yesterday, and it's just like, okay, well, what room in your house could we do this in? And like, then we can superimpose some photos. I'm like, this is like room service.
better.
Like you just, like get to lay in bed and like
Amazing.
do your thing, which is my
Yeah.
favorite thing. That's my favorite thing to do, is work from bed.
Yes. So just for everyone who's listening, and I don't know if Christian and I have had this conversation yet. I know that I haven't had this with you, but I'm publicly coming out saying, I know all my friends back east know this, because that's who I FaceTime with the most.
Right.
My dream is, when I get a New York apartment, is to have you come and do it.
Oh my God.
It is like my
Wait,
dream.
wait,
And like,
lady,
well, what
do you
will
have
that
this?
entail? And I said, well, that will entail me getting a new series. And because I will want Nathan to not give me the friends and family. I want the full Nathan
You want the
Turner
full
experience,
Can you
which means
imagine
I
how much
gotta
fun we
fly
would have?
his out and pay for his room and keep. And I want the full, that would be my dream.
No,
That
my
I
God,
will be
love that.
manifesting. FYI,
Well, you don't
because
have to. I have accommodation there, so there's that. We can check that off the list. Great.
Perfect.
Eric has an apartment.
oh, thank you, Eric, for so many things, but especially that. That's great. Because there is something, my dream is to, obviously, you know this about me, that I want to grow old in New York City and be in New York and 8
Yes.
shows a week.
Yeah.
I want my New York apartment to be Nathan Turnered.
Oh my God.
I want to
that's
live
like
in a Nathan
huge
Turner
honor for me.
space. That's it. That is my dream. And I know that you and I both know a lot of other designers that I respect, but you're the tops, kid.
That means it's
My dream.
incredible. And it's such a huge compliment, and one we would just like literally have the time of our lives.
Of course you will.
But there are so many talented people in my business, and I feel like it's kind of like for you in acting. I've never gotten into the competition of it because
Well, you
it's
can't.
so
You're also-
personal. It's so
Yes.
personal. Oh my God, it's the most intimate. What I end up knowing about my clients, it's like, I'm not joking when I say I know what's in their like nightstand drawers. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like,
You have to.
I know everything. And so for me, it's really about like that click. You've got to click with somebody, and
But
so I
also,
don't
like
like
the style of someone. I mean, what's interesting is I have now gotten to the point where I can sometimes walk into someone's house and I really know maybe out of 2 or 3 people who they've hired.
Sure.
There's a vibe, there's a look, there's a feel. And
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I want to feel like Nathan Turner, period, full stop.
Like
And I
I
can't
like
wait
that.
for you to talk to and meet some, because you haven't met some of them, some of these people I'm talking about, who when they meet you will be like, okay, so you're the one that's going to decorate
Oh my
and
God,
design
I
Mindy's
love
apartment.
that.
Oh, okay.
I love
Okay,
that.
you're that one. Okay.
I love that so much. Well, we'll do it. We'll do a bang up job minus
course.
the cereal bowls on the side of the bed. I'll leave that touch out.
Yes.
Okay.
What's your favorite thing to leave in a client's home? Like what basically in every project is there
Like a signature
I don't want to
of
say that it has
sorts.
your stamp. Yeah, a signature of sorts. But is there a special gift or a special something that you always leave in a client's home?
Yeah, really big bill.
We know this to be true.
No, I think that I one thing I'm known for, and it's probably because I started my career as an antique dealer first, is you're
Mhm.
always going to find old things in
Love that.
my work, and
Yeah.
even if it's a modern house,
Yes. May I
will still
just
use
from
like
Paris?
yeah
Just FYI.
it's the like soul of an interior, and it tells people who is living in this house, you know what I mean? And so always old things, always. I don't I you know like the design centers where they're just chock-a-block with furniture thing. I rarely buy new furniture, rarely.
Mhm.
I'm always
Yeah.
so it gives me that like feel that like
Well, it's so funny because
collected and
we started talking about the most fascinating person you've met. We talked about your great grandmother and the family ranch. I mean, it makes sense that you are also
Yeah.
attracted to older objects. I too, just being a storyteller, I
Mhm.
like objects with a story.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean I don't like new and shiny. Todd to
Right.
Mindy loves new and shiny,
Right.
but there's something for me that's very comforting about being among things that have a story.
And that have been around and that
Right.
they're going
Survived.
and I
Yeah.
even like new things that I choose or Eric and I choose to make for our own home. I like
Mhm.
to make sure it's like a really done correctly and well. And I fantasize about like, oh, in 100 years, who's going to stumble upon this thing and be like, this is kind of weird but chic and I like it. And then it's the antique of the future. And
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
something
Oh,
that
love
gives
that.
me like, I have these really great, I have this girl that draws my dogs in like a gouache chalk, and she does these little
Oh,
profile paintings of them. And I have them all framed in Ojai, and we put the little plaques of, dogs from
yes.
many years ago and our current pals. And I imagine like at the end of my life, all of these Labrador little gouache paintings, and those especially, I think, oh my God, how stoked would I be if I was like at, Round Top in Texas, and I
Yes.
stumble upon like this 100-year-old collection of Labrador paintings. And I love that. It's like, I feel
Yeah.
like it's
amazing.
just me being like a cog in the wheel, but in a really good way. Like I'm just keeping it
Yeah.
going.
Moving.
And
I liked what you just said, like creating the antiques of the future, because they
Yeah.
already have stories and sentimentality to it.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I find. I like objects that evoke sentimentality in me. I like because I like that feeling. I'm living with that feeling.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
that doesn't mean that they have to be super precious or expensive or valuable,
right.
because my most favorite things, the reality of it is those drawings don't really have value, but they're my favorite
Right.
things,
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Ditto. Oh,
I
I just
know.
can't tell you how much I adore you, Nathan Turner. And I am so excited for people who don't know you to listen to this and know you better and get your book and follow you and see what gorgeousness you create, not just for your clients, but for you and Eric.
That's always the best because no one's telling me how to do it.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. Although you've gotten to the point where I can't imagine any client really tells you. They do.
You know me.
They still do.
No.
Yeah. It's like, I'm sorry. Do you
Even
know how?
if they
Do you know who I
try,
am?
I'm just like, okay. Yeah.
I'm going to do me. Thanks. And you're
Uh-huh.
going to love it and pay me for it. Thanks for
Mhm.
playing. Yeah. Anyway, you are, this has been a delight. You are a delight. And I truly do adore you so much.
Right
Thank you
back
so
at
much.
you, lady. And I have to tell you, I'm like shook by like that you would pick me to do your New York apartment, because I know that the New York apartment's the plan. So it's like, if you were here, I would just give you the tightest hug. I'd probably like crack a rib.
You wouldn't. There's a lot going on down here. There's a little COVID going on down here. COVID eating still happening. But I do. I know that is. I can't wait for you to meet people who will actually validate what I said.
love
So
it.
you know it's
I
not a
love it so
yarn.
much.
Anyway, thank you. Will you kiss Eric for me?
Yes, I will. This was so fun. Love
Yeah.
chatting with you guys.
Yeah, thanks
And
for
hope
being
to
on the
do it
show.
in person soon.
We will.
Seriously, fingers crossed.
All right.
Ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen, one more time, let's give a big round of applause for our very special guest, Nathan Turner.
We're so lucky.
This episode of Mondays with Mindy is brought to you by The Cocktail Party, Love Mary. Tired of cooking? Love fancy hors d'oeuvres, but don't have any idea how to prepare them? Look no further. The Cocktail Party, Love Mary, is here. For 15 years, New York caterer to the stars, and our pal Mary Giuliani has served her delicious, whimsical hors d'oeuvres to the best names in art, fashion, and entertainment. Now she's putting them all into adorable little boxes and sending them from her heart to your home. 6 dozen of her greatest hits delivered frozen, including the yummiest nibbles like mac and cheese cupcakes, pastrami on rye tarts, and her everything pig in a pie. Total game changer for anyone who loves pigs in a blanket. As Mary says, all you have to do is turn on the oven, pour yourself a drink, and enjoy more time with your guests. She'll do the rest. Go to marygiuliani.com or mondayswithmindy.com for more information and to order yours today.